Hello and welcome to Global Television News Desk. Even here on the desk, my name is Godwin Sunday. We have a lot of conversations to delve into today, but we'll begin with the first conversation, which borders on food security in Nigeria. Joining me to talk about this conversation is Daniel Black, who is the Executive Director, Growth for Sustainable Agricultural Initiative, GSAI. And we're talking about food security right now in Nigeria. But first, let me welcome you to the station, Daniel, at this point. You're welcome to the desk here on Global Television.
Thank you, Godwin. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here to be talking on some very important topic. It's a pleasure thank you for having me here.
All right, first, we are trying to x-ray the food production in Nigeria as it stands right now. What do you make of the general food security issues in Nigeria? Are we there yet, or we need to put structures in place?
Yeah, so Godwin, thank you. And before I answer your question, I'd love to say a big kudos to Global TV. You know, this is the month of women, International Women's Day, and I'd love to say Happy International Women's Day to you. But of course, you're not a woman. But why I'm saying a big kudos to Global TV is because I've seen the number of women that are working here, not just in some stereotypical roles. They are working here as technical staff. I've seen in the control room, presenters and all of that, and I'm impressed that Global TV has equal rights for the people that are working, and young people are working here. So kudos to the management of Global TV for opening their doors, opening their arms to women, and encouraging women even in this month of the International Women's Day. So yeah, I just needed to put that out. Yeah, directly to the question you're asking. So when I talk about food security, I like to first put everybody on the same page. What exactly is this concept of food security? In very simplistic terms, food security is not just having food. Food security means when a particular economy, a particular community, a particular set of people have nutritious, it's very important. There are three major factors to food security. Number one, food has to be nutritious. So it has to be balanced. It's not just having one type of food. There has to be nutritious food. There has to be affordable food. So that nutritious food has to be affordable and finally has to be available. So those are the three key components that make an economy or a community say we are food secure, has available, affordable, and nutritious food. So to answer directly to your question, if we are there yet, I think we are not there yet. Of course, we know the food inflation going on in Nigeria. Things that we normally bought at X Naira at this point are multiplying by almost 10 times their original prices within a very short time frame. So Nigeria is very, very far away from being food secure. Nigeria is very far away from meeting up the criteria, whether you're looking from the perspective of the SDGs, that's the zero hunger, or the no poverty, whether you're looking at it from that perspective, whether you're looking at it from the perspective of GDP and other economic indices, you'll find out that we are very far away from being.
But have we moved up the radar?
So I'm sure this is not a political show, so I'll be as blunt as possible. I really, really doubt we have moved. What we've been doing in Nigeria is going one step forward, three steps backward, right? In the sense that there's a whole lot that needs to be done. There is some intentionality that has been expected in agriculture, and we've not seen that. For instance, the allocated budget for agriculture, as at when the budget for 2025 was presented, was somewhere around 990-something billion naira. And we expected that, okay, this is something, in fact, it's not even enough. Only for during assenting to the bill, it was reduced to about 600 and something billion. And you find out that a whole lot of very key initiatives have been cut off. If the federal budget is so high, is the agricultural sector the sector where you have to pick out things you want to cut? So I really would love to say that we've been doing a whole lot of dilly-dallying around the agricultural sector. The president came on board in his inaugural speech. He called a state of emergency on the agricultural sector. He renamed Minister of Agriculture to Ministry of Agriculture is not Agriculture and Rural Development anymore. It is now Agriculture and Food Security. And then, of course, called this a state of emergency. And we really had high hopes for that. We really had believed that things would take a dramatic turn. This is not a time for us to be padding, soft pedaling on food security. It's a time for us to take intentional and very dramatic actions, and I have not seen that, unfortunately. So to answer your question, I wouldn't think that we've really made any positive strides towards food security in Nigeria.
All right, so let's talk in terms of youth participation in the agro chain of Nigeria, because we've seen a lot of youth clamor for white-collar jobs across Nigeria right now, and youth are not even willing to want to engage in the agricultural sector. Do you think that it's a lack of government intervention in the sector that's why youth are shying away from the sector, or the Nigerian youth have decided to evolve beyond the agricultural space to get themselves fed in whatever synthetic way right now? What are the major causes or factors on this? Yeah.
On a lighter note, now hunger will kill us if we decide to evolve beyond.
But we've seen, to a large extent, we've seen most of our rural, our parents going back to the farms, and the youth are shying away from the agricultural sector.
One of the challenges we've really had is that agriculture has suffered bad PR. Agriculture has not paid a very good public relations publicists to give agriculture public. When you talk about agriculture, most people think of that farmer in the village with hoe, having back pain, suffering from morning till night, right? We've not really had good PR. In fact, even if you look at our agricultural textbooks from secondary school, primary schools, you find out that the agricultural textbooks, the pictures there are people that are suffering, looking haggard, tattered, and unappealing. Right.
But is that not a reality on ground?
That is where I'm heading to. So we have suffered bad PR. Listen, America, people say don't judge Nigeria, but unfortunately, Nigeria has an economy that is fully fit to be put side by side at par with the US. Only 4% of the people in America are farmers, and they're the ones sufficiently feeding America, right? So it is not the reality. There are farmers that are multi-billionaires. There are farmers that are living very large. There are farmers that are having acres and hectares of plantations and are living very comfortably. Agriculture is not about the drudgery. Agriculture is not about the suffering. That is just a picture of the masses. That is a picture of the very few of the people that are having subsistence agriculture. There has been so much scaling up innovation in agriculture. There are tractors that have ACs now, sir. There are tractors that are AI driven, sir. There are innovations that have come into agriculture, and there are young people. And pardon my saying, in my organization, like you introduced me, I'm the executive director of GSAI. We saw this challenge, and we had to launch a project we called Green Careers Advocacy Project, where we did an advocacy in universities, we did advocacy on social media, we did advocacies where in different channels where we find young people. The whole essence was to tell young people that there are careers in agriculture. Do you know that there are agri project managers now, where you sit at the convenience of your office and you're able to use a project management software and schedule a whole farming activities. There are agri-financing, people that are sitting in banks and are designing financing structures for banks, for financial systems. There are agri-techs, young people that are into technology and are sitting there like, okay, what exactly is the challenges that technology can solve in agriculture? There are the main farmers that are using innovative science. People are now using weather projections. People are now using pest and disease migration projections to be able to make decisions in their farms. So it is not the reality. What you see, the mentality we have is because most of the people that are having these mentalities, these are the things they saw in their villages, and they have refused to take that extra step to see what can be done better. Just like we went to university, just like when we go to school as a lawyer, even after graduating as a lawyer, you have to continuously develop yourself. Young people, youth in Nigeria need to intentionally get knowledge on advances, innovations in agriculture. So I want to say that agriculture has really had a bad PR, and it's time we change that. And that's one of the things we've been doing. And I for one, I'm a farmer beyond Growth for Sustainable Agriculture, which is an NGO, and we try to support farmers. I, for one, I'm a farmer. And it has been my intentional act to ensure that whether the occasion calls for it or not, I dress well. And when I dress well, I go to places and I introduce myself first and foremost as a farmer, so that I can encourage young people and say, guys, you must not wear tattered, torn and dirty clothes for you to be a farmer. You can actually identify in places of honor, in places of power. I was privileged last year to represent Nigerian youths at UN in New York, United Nations General Assembly, and I was talking about young people, and I'm as a farmer, right? So there are a whole lot of opportunities available for young people. If they come in, you don't have to hold the hoe, you don't have to be the one putting the seed in the ground, which those, not that that is actually bad, because technology has taken off that. But young people, if they come into agriculture, there's a whole lot of opportunity for them. Like I mentioned, there's the project management, there's the tech, there's a whole lot of a value chain of activities. Agro marketers are young people that go to the farmer and say, okay, sir, or farmer, you have cucumber. They now go on their Facebook, they now go on their Instagram, on their social media and say, I have cucumber. And then people say, oh, give me cucumber. And then they serve as middleman. They go and get the cucumber from the market and sell to the housewife or whoever, or supermarkets and other places. So there are agro marketers that can use technology to market their products. There are different websites you can use to sell more.
So then invariably you're saying that the young people are not shying away from agricultural sector.
Yes, so it's a matter of percentage. We have young people that are coming into agriculture, but it is not at the percentage that we want. We actually need more young people. I usually say, one of the mantras that has guided us in GSAI is that Africa does not need more farmers. We don't need more farmers. What we need is better farmers. And how can we get better farmers? Is when young people come into the system who are open-minded, who are innovative, who can understand. By the time you bring an app and say, press this, use this button, this is for scheduling, this is for this, this is for this, they can understand faster than going to train my grandmother in the village how to use a farm scheduling app.
Even though you're saying this, even though that most youth right now and young persons in Nigeria and even across Africa will want to rather stay in an urban society rather than staying in a rural community. Doesn't these all these factors play out?
I'm sorry, I'm going to attack you here.
Oh, all right, please go ahead. Please.
You see, one thing, you are also carrying the mindset of the majority of young people. Urban farming is a reality.
I'm a journalist, so I need to speak on the purview of the populace.
I would expect you to know the innovations going around here. So, do you know there's something called soilless farming? Do you know there's something called hydroponics? Where you can farm without soil. You can in this your studio now. If you wanted to convert it to a farm,
please don't convert my studio to a farm.
No, these are just an example. But if I were given the opportunity, let's not because
please don't.
Because I'm sure everybody here has to do it.
Let's not convert the studio to a farm. Yeah.
So urban farming is real now. Even in compounds, like I was consulting for as a farmer, I consulted for some people a few weeks ago. Even in your house where all your environment is cemented or interlocked or whatever, you can actually have sack farming. You can actually farm and have yam, things as much as yam. You can have vegetables in different locations using sacks, using containers, using different innovative methods. You can in your playground, in your field, it can even be used for aesthetics, where you have aeroponics, where plants can grow using both air and water medium. So there's a whole lot of innovation that has gone out. You can farm for 10 years without touching soil. These are innovations. So whether you want to stay in the urban, you want to stay in the rural, wherever you want to find yourself in, agriculture has modified and innovated in a way that it can fit everybody anywhere.
So let's x-ray this value chain of agriculture in terms of SMEs in this particular. Do we have SMEs that want to spring from the agricultural sector?
What do you call SMEs? The guy selling what do they call it? Plantain chips in the traffic light that you know is an SME.
That's under the value chain. But under the agricultural extractive
yes,
the media.
The primary producers, people rearing cows, people rearing goats, they are SMEs, of course, and people farming and then selling fruits and selling primary agri produce. Even the woman in the market selling pepper is an SME of agriculture, right? So this may form as the informal sector, but they contribute as a major part of the agricultural production value chain. So the value chain is very much, we have the processors, we have the primary producers, we have the transporters, we have the marketers. Let me just jump in here in terms of transportation. We see people carrying, loading eggs in keke and driving, and all of that. If a young person who is innovative, who has gone the extra mile of researching how to transport eggs, we can have a dedicated keke that is foam padded, right? And can transport eggs with very minimal losses and damages. Beyond being foam padded, we can have kekes that can have some form of air control and all. We have people that before they transport tomato from the north down to the south, we have almost 40% of that tomato has gone to what we call baje, spoiled, and people still buy them. But tomato can be transported for 10 days or can even be stored for 10 days without changing its texture. Why are we not having young people doing researches and bringing in cold rooms and low volume cold rooms and storing, or in fact even cooling vans that are not for as high temperature and low temperature as fish, but for vegetables, and transporting it from the north down to the south? Why are we having that number of loss? Imagine the quantity of loss we have by the time tomatoes that was about 15 million in a full truck goes from the north, and by the time it gets to the south, it has deteriorated to about 10 million naira. Why are we not having a truckload that is a cooling room for tomatoes, and it is transporting the same value that you picked it from the north, is the same value you get it in the south? Why are we not having that? So there's a whole lot of innovation.
Dan, I'm not in a position to answer a lot of those your questions right now, even on the show this evening. But then before we even look at other issues, I will have to take down on another question right now. And this question is borders on the agricultural sector in general. But then we've highlighted some of the problems and challenges that young people have within the sector. But Dan, looking at all of this, are there solutions, recommendations that we can make to the government even at this point? So you are an expert in this field. If you want to recommend to the government at this point, what will that recommendation be?
Yeah, so I know that most times, yeah, like your question has been to the government, but we have so shifted our responsibilities to the government that people do not do anything without the government. So I'll answer your question, government's role. But I just want to point it out clearly that it cannot just be government. We all have a role to play. Government will not spoon feed us. Government can do a lot. In fact, the role of government, one, let us have very conducive conducive business environment for SMEs in the agriculture. Do you know that banks do not give loans to farms because they are very, very, according to them, volatile, and it's true. Because most farmers are gambling. We put seed in the soil and we say, God, I beg you. We are not sure whether that seed will grow. We do not have the facilities. And then banks and investors are finding it very hard to fund the agricultural sector. So we need government to have very unique financing structure for agriculture. We had the anchor borrower scheme where they came in, but unfortunately we had more political farmers than real farmers. So when government is bringing out that kind of financial structure, they have to be intensive. We were talking about having a database. Of course, and I must say here, they have tried, last government tried to have a database of farmers, but we had some political interference. So we need that political will to say, guys, we need the real farmers, right? And then government needs to, because it's in the north here that I can find that you see that the land tenure system is a bit easy. If we go down to the south where we have a very, very beautiful environment, weather for farming, the land tenure system is hard. You hardly find one person that can have up to 10 hectares of land. So we need to have a uniform law that covers agriculture. Every local government should have a farming estate. And when I say farming estate, I don't mean building houses. A farming estate where we can have vegetables, where we can have crops, we can have livestock. So government needs to create a very conducive working environment. Government needs to create security. About 30%, 40% of the farmers last year are no more farming this year because of insecurity. So government needs to take intentionality into security. I've always postulated having farming villages where there are dedicated, and we know that, okay, this particular environment is for farming, and we have a dedicated security system created for that farming environment. So security is very key. We also have the issue of taxation. Currently, importation is so high and we are not encouraging local production. So we have to balance these policies and ensure that local producers, rice farmers are suffering a whole lot because I'm not quite sure now, but there was a lift in the ban for rice, and then there is that struggle between those that are processing Nigerian rice and those that are processing foreign rice. That encouragement is no more there. So we need to have these people come in. We need to have government give these people some kind of assurances. So in terms of conducive working environment, business environment, in terms of security, in terms of policies that can encourage these businesses.
Well done. Our time is fast spent right now. I think that the conversation is not even ended because I've been signaled right now that our time is fast spent right now. But we need to end the conversation right now to bring you back again on the show to talk more. Because a lot of youths that are watching the program right now are curious. There's some things, there's questions that you're not answering. And there are questions that are begging for answers even right now that we're seeing even coming in from our platforms. But then, at this point, Dan, we will have to bring you back again. I hope that you will honor have an invitation again to be back on the show.
Of course, it's always my pleasure to discuss agric, to project agric, and I know your time is short, but like I said, our government has its role, the young people have their role, the populace have their role. Please, everybody, we shouldn't be having market women going to buy ugu in the market anymore. I mean, housewives going to buy ugu in the market, going to buy pepper. We should leave pepper, the major pepper for processors. Household use of pepper should be from our backyard.
Dan, like I said, that we have a lot of conversation to discuss on this table because even looking at the agricultural sectors and the processing unit and the value chain of agriculture as in Nigeria tend to be very strange. It tends to be, the average Nigerian does not even understand how the value chain operates. We just fit into those value chains without understanding how it even works. But then our time is fast spent, Dan. We need to bring you back on the conversation to do justice to these particular issues. I hope you will honor our invitation next time.
Share my opinion on this topic.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Dan, for being a part of the show right now. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we will be talking more on the desk. Please go nowhere. The desk continues in a moment.